Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Handle with Care, Cancer and Beyond is a podcast that gives everyone and anyone a place to come and keep it real about their cancer experience. Welcome to Handle with Care, Cancer and Beyond.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Handle with Care, Cancer and Beyond. My name is Chris Donovan, your co-host here with Carrie Madrid of thecareprojectinc.org, if you want to make a donation. And today on the show, we're speaking with registered dietitian and cancer survivor, Regina Topelson. She's the owner of Life Well Lived and the creator of Wings of Hope program for breast cancer survivors. You can go to reginatopelson.com to find out more information on her, but please don't go anywhere and enjoy this conversation with myself, Carrie Madrid, and Regina here on Handle with Care, Cancer and Beyond.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good, Carrie. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, we are joined by my new friend, Regina Topelson today. Hey, Regina.
Hey, Carrie. Hey, how are you guys?
Good. You know, living in that Zoom land.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Regina. Nice to meet you too.
So, Chris.
Yes.
This is the show I was recently on with Regina. I was on her show recently.
Oh.
Yeah, Life Well Lived.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about all of that. But Regina is a registered dietitian and owner of Life Well Lived, which is a lifestyle medicine consulting practice based in Denver. She's also a regular health and wellness contributor to 9 News, a podcaster, a YouTube creator. She's so fancy. And a speaker and cancer survivor, which is how we met and how we bonded and became fast friends. So she has a program that I really want to talk about today called Wings of Hope, which helps breast cancer survivors rebuild their life after a cancer diagnosis. That is everything I do at the Care Project, or try to do with our wellness program. And so I want to know a little bit about your experience with cancer, you know, when you were diagnosed, the basics, whatever you feel like you want to share. And, you know, when you started this program and why. So let's get into that.
Yeah. So originally I was diagnosed in October of 2013, and how timely, because it was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I had been working at a local hospital here in town. I was in charge of doing the board outside the cafeteria. And so I had put together, you know, I knew what I wanted to do. It was like, you know, just, it was in me and it was coming out. And I wanted to create a board where I had used evidence-based like studies to show that, you know, regular foods like broccoli and blueberries could, you know, actually help fight cancer. And I thought, you know, I made this incredible board, and I walked across the street and I got my mammogram because a month earlier I had felt something, and my husband said, no worries, just go get it checked out. So go get it checked out happened that day. And I didn't come home with an answer that day. What I came home with was this really horrible feeling of something's not right, because they don't do a mammogram and then an ultrasound and then a biopsy all within the same day.
No, that's usually a sign.
Yeah.
Carrie, you're muted.
Sorry, I was going to say, you had that all in one day?
All in one day. So it was at the end of the day. I'd finished my shift like around whatever 4:30 it was, and I walked across the street, and they, you know, I got my mammogram. That was fine. And then she said, hold on, you know, sit right here while we check and make sure we've got all the right images. And as I'm, you know, sitting there, the nurse comes back out and says, hold up, the doctor wants to do an ultrasound. Do you have time for that? And I said, I guess I don't have anywhere to be.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and did the ultrasound. And then as he's doing the ultrasound, he says, you know what, are you okay if I do a biopsy? I want to biopsy this just one like area right here. And I was like, what are you going to say? No.
Right.
You went over there for a mammogram and you walked out with a whole bunch more stuff that happened.
Well, and the normal thing, at least in my experience, when you have a mammogram, you don't see the doctor. You're with the techs. They take their images, they go back and they make sure they got images. They might come back and go, you know what, let me get a couple more. And you kind of go, okay. But for a doctor to step in the room and then want to do something, I mean, what were you thinking in that moment?
Yeah, I was thinking this is like so not good, right? I was like, this is really just like, this is not normal. I had mammograms before. I wasn't being followed for anything. It wasn't in my family history. So it's not like anyone was looking for anything. It just so happened that one night, like I said, a month before, I was laying in bed, kind of feeling myself up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if I would necessarily call it like a monthly self-exam. It was just kind of me like, feeling around to make sure everything felt as good as it did the day before. You know what I mean? And I felt something odd. It's one thing to feel dense breast tissue, right? It feels fibrous. It feels hard a little bit, but like not. This was different in that I felt like a cliff. I felt something round, and then I felt like a drop off on one side. I felt like
so clear definition that there's something there that isn't continuous.
Correct. It just felt really, really weird. And I just said, no, something's not right here. And that's what got me to go in.
So they did the biopsy, and how soon after did you have results?
24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, they knew something. Yeah, that's why you had all the tests. And that's a common sign on the show is when they catch you in the parking lot before you leave going, hey, the doctor wants to see you real quick. It's like,
come back. Yeah.
Crap. Yeah.
You're right, Chris. You got a good memory.
Well, my kids wouldn't say so, but yeah, for this show, I guess. But yeah, it's a common factor with a lot of the people we've talked to. It's like if they can get to the parking lot and leave, they're safe, kind of. But
and I think another recurring thing that we've heard is what I believe we're going to hear from Regina too, is like, hey, I didn't have a history of breast cancer in my family. I was super, or relatively healthy and aware, So how did you take it when you got the diagnosis?
Oh, very badly. Yeah, very, very badly. So I had actually, I had taken my younger child's class on a field trip that day, which was the best distraction ever, because you don't want to sit around all day thinking, is it not? Is it not? Whatever, like, no. So I had this planned, like, a while in advance. I don't remember how long in advance they told us, but it was one of those things you had to find, sign field trip forms and like all that nonsense. So I went on this field trip with my kiddo. He was 9, and my oldest was 12 at the time. I have 2 boys. And so I went on this field trip with the younger one, and we came back, and it was early. And I thought, I'll just, hop into a store to do some shopping. And my mother, called me and said, did you hear back from them? And I said, no, not yet. And she said, well, hang up the phone, call them, and then call me back. And I called them and I said, hi, this is Regina. I'm just, calling to see if my results are in, totally normal, whatever. And the front desk says, okay, yeah, sure. Let me pass you to the doctor. Again. So I'm like, okay, great. The doctor comes on the line, and, like right away, they're not like the voice, right? It's not like a happy voice where they're like, hey, everything was good. Like, whatever. Mm-hmm. No, this is like, hi, Regina, this is Dr. L, and you have breast cancer.
Yeah.
I didn't dance around it at all. Just went straight there. Wow.
Did not. There was no dancing.
Yeah. So what was the treatment plan?
So that took a little while. So, you were a little bit like surprised that I had a biopsy the same day. So the truth of the matter was that, yes, I did. But then they wanted to do an MRI guided biopsy later. So that was another thing that, I had to do. And when all was said and done, I did a double mastectomy and chemo.
And how did having a mastectomy, how did that affect you, like emotionally, psychologically? Like how did you manage that? Because we've heard on this show a myriad of responses to that question. Some appear to be very unaffected at first, and then some are just devastated, can't get past it, and really find that the hardest part, more so over any chemo or radiation. So how did that play out for you?
So I think I was in denial. Like I did not want this. And I was like, this is not mine. Somebody needs to take this away. Like this was a mistake. And the night before my double mastectomy, we went to see, oh my God, the show about the Mormons.
The Book of Mormon?
The Book of Mormon.
Oh, I'm like,
Book of Mormon. Thank you. It was so funny. It was so hilarious. Like I couldn't believe it that we had gone to do this, like, go to see this show. And I was like, I don't even know, whatever. It was so funny. We came home late. I had to be up at like the crack of dawn, dark 30 the next day to go get this done.
Always. Yeah.
Right. I was laughing my ass off. Can I say that?
Yes, you can say whatever you want.
Okay. So I was laughing my ass off during the show, and I was like, this is so great. And then the next morning they're wheeling me in to the OR and I'm clutching my breasts. Mm-hmm. Literally just holding on to my breasts, and I crying and thinking this is the last time.
Yeah. Yeah. Even Chris has to take a breath on that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You said you also had chemo. How many rounds? How many weeks? How's that work out?
I had four rounds of chemo. It was every 3 weeks, and I lost my hair the week after my only sister's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And my newly minted brother-in-law shaved my head while providing comedy relief.
Yeah.
Mormon on again.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, the tear jerkers just keep coming, right? So so we flew down to Florida where my sister and my brother-in-law live, and I was part of her wedding. I had to wear a wig because I knew the pictures were forever, and I already had cropped hair. I had a little bob where my hair was always normally long like you see it today. And so I did not want the memory to be that that's what was happening, and that's why I had short hair. And so I wore a wig for her wedding, and no, the day went off without a hitch, and it was like literally a day or two later because I'd had my first treatment 2 weeks before. And
they usually say it's right around day 17.
Yeah. So, right. So I actually had it. So my first treatment was December 4th. Her wedding was the 14th, and my brother-in-law's birthday is the 20th. And like sometime right after the 14th, I don't know if it was a day or two, all of a sudden I woke up and I saw clumps. Like just like not, it was like just falling out.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I don't, whatever. I'm like, it's starting, right? And I was trying to really prepare myself. Like I knew this was coming. I knew this was going to happen, and I really trying to just prepare myself and hold on. And I thought maybe I can just get home to take care of the rest of it. But it went like that for like 2 days, 3 days, and then towards the end of that week that we were there was just nothing to hold on to anymore. It was like so much that you couldn't. So
there's something about like you said, I was thinking about what you just said. You try to prepare yourself, right? It's coming.
Right.
And you try to prepare yourself for it, and you go, okay, I'll work it. I'll figure it out. Right. And then it starts happening. And it's like, we all lose hair, especially those of us like me. I had long hair too before, really thick, long hair my whole life. So when it starts to come out, you go, oh, well, that's normal. Like I always lose that much when I wash my hair. Then you get a little bit more, and then it's like, oh, wait, and me being Italian and Spanish, I'm hairy, right? So my legs, I could shave them at 8 a.m. and by noon I had a shadow. And all of a sudden I realized my legs aren't stubbly. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of a good thing. I mean, you do whatever you can do to get through it. It was like the greatest thing ever, not having to shave my legs for X amount of months. But it's something very sobering, if you will, when you're in the shower and all of a sudden you look down and there's a fucking clump, not a little bit, not a quarter size that you go, oh, that's a lot. No, like a clump.
Yeah, well, I still had the hair on my legs, and I actually remember going into my oncologist because he and I had a very special relationship. On the very first time that I met him, I told him that he was a drug dealer, but his drugs were legal, and that's what made him different from all.
Yeah, yeah, nice.
I'm gonna love working with you. I just know it. But I wanted to show you this. Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
Right. Talk about the hair.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I was dealing with. I was like, I went from that to this. And like, I know that like, you know, if you're listening, you can't see it, but like, holy cow, the difference is just night and day.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, right. So my brother-in-law came over to do the deed. And he did it, you know, it's like a whole, you know, King Soopers bag full of, you know, grocery bag full of hair that he shaved off with his clippers. And everybody leaves the room. My sister leaves, my brother-in-law leaves, and it's just me in the shower, right? And a mirror. And I was afraid. I was afraid to look in the mirror. I didn't know what I would think of myself and how I'd be able to handle it. So I peeked in the corner of the mirror and I just saw like a little bit, and I was like, nope, I can't. And I backed away and I turned around and I caught my reflection head on in the shower, on the shower door, caught my reflection. And I was like, that's it. I lost it. Lost it completely.
Yeah. There is that moment. I have had several of those moments from biopsy date through the end of treatment where, you know, you get so focused and sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it, right? Unconsciously, you're avoiding mirrors, you're doing this. I know, like for me, after mastectomy, it was a good year before I stood in the mirror butt naked and actually looked at myself from head to toe and went, whoa, okay, like, wow. And it was a very sobering moment, but it was also, you know, it's that horrific moment. And then for me, it turned into a very empowering moment. Like, wow, look at what your body has endured. And it allowed me to give myself and my body the grace that it deserved after everything it had been through. It was still standing. That in and of itself is something to be, you know, mesmerized by, but then it's the mental, you know. Right. So did you wear wigs and scarves and hats and all that throughout chemo, or how did you end up managing the emotional toll of the being bald?
That was my next question too.
Yeah, I did not like it. Mirrors were my arch enemy at the time, right? So I wore wigs all the time because I worked through my chemo and I worked at a hospital, like I was saying. So I did not want my patients and everyone at the hospital to know what was happening with me. So I wore a very short wig. It was very cute and very stylish. And one day I said, I've had enough of this short wig. That was kind of like, I think when I was done with chemo, right? When I was done with chemo, I'm like, out with the short wig. I'm done with this, right? And I got my long wig back, the one I wore to my sister's wedding. And so I literally came to work and like this, my hair went from here to here, you know, and it grew like 10 inches overnight. And I just remember one of the girls, when I was checking out, getting my lunch one day, she says to me, oh, did you changed your hair again. You grew it long. And I'm like, yeah, overnight.
Yeah. Well, you know, in this day and age, that's kind of the norm, right? People getting extensions or a lot of people wear wigs that have a full head of hair now. It's like the norm.
Yes. My friend had blood cancer when she was younger. We went to radio school and she had a little bit of fun with it. And she'd always come in with like pink wigs or purple wigs or anything like that. And I know that Carrie did the laughter lip gloss thing to keep herself sane. Did you do anything along those lines like that would make?
I did it all. You know what? So number one, I wore wigs all the time. The schmata thing on the head was like not my thing. Okay. So I just wore wigs all the time. And then right before I even did anything, no mastectomy, no nothing, just when I found out, I was like, that's it. I went to the mall. I got like, I don't even know, a boatload of makeup. And I just started, that was it. Like, I was like, this is, I'm not taking this lying down, so to speak. You know what I mean? I showed up like $1 million every single day. It was makeup full blast every single day, baked a cake on my face. I was like, we're doing this.
Never heard of
You know what? That's what you have to do. It's like I went to every so I had 6
Chris, you almost fell in your chair.
I did six chemo treatments, like you, once every 3 weeks. And so when I went, I guess it was my version of hyping myself up, but I would get dressed. I mean, not fancy dressed, but I did the whole makeup thing. I had fun with scarves. I shaved my hair off before I even started. Well, by that I mean like G.I. Jane short.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had fun with scarves, and I wore big earrings, like crazy ass earrings, because growing up with all that 80s hair, we didn't really wear earrings because you didn't see your ears, right?
Oh, you didn't wear the big plastic ones? Like,
well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. We did a little bit.
Oops.
Yeah. Shut up, Chris. Take my hoops off. Yeah. No, but really, my basketball girls, who I was like their team mom and all that at the time of diagnosis, they showered me with gift bag after gift bag after gift bag filled with nail polish, lip gloss, and big, huge earrings and scarves. And so they said, look, you're going to still be at our games. You got to be cute. Come in with this. And my motto just became like, laughter and lip gloss. But I mean, it's something about, you got to do whatever you got to do to get through it. Right.
Right.
You got to do it. Yeah. So
with the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Did you had reconstruction?
I did have reconstruction.
Yeah.
I go back and forth about that like all the time, like, should I have had it? Should I not have had it? Someone that I really respect, that's a medical professional, just posted on Instagram the other day. I saw like all of the bad things about implants. And I was like, really? I happened to catch it at night. Maybe that was the problem. It's like, if I had seen it during the day, maybe it wouldn't have bothered me so much, but I happened to catch it at night. And I was like, why would you do that? You have patients, like more than just me. You have other patients who have had reconstruction, who have these implants sitting in them. And God willing, everything is going well with those implants. If it wasn't, they would know, they would have symptoms, right? So they would go in to see their oncologist. They wouldn't be waiting to see, something on Instagram, to tell them that they need to go see their doctor. But I was like, I don't want to think about, this is the hard thing for me. I still, to this day, I don't want to think about all the things that can go wrong. Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I did this and I did that because I knew I had to, for my sanity, for myself. This is where I am based on, everything going, from the past has brought me to this day. And I just want to be healthy today. And I, if I sat around thinking about all of the things that could go wrong, I wouldn't be able to like get out of bed.
Well, you'd be on the internet a lot, that's for sure.
Right. I was going to say another recurring theme. Or recurring thing that I always say to fellow survivors is, there's a lot of us that second guess decisions that we made, choices and ways of cope, whatever, all the things, right? But what I'll say to you is this: if you had a peace about the decision you made back then, you did what was right for you. And you can't live in the what ifs. I say we can't live in the what ifs, right? Because I've had a plethora of complications that almost killed me. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd have stayed flat. I'd have had a double and went flat. But you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
So you do the best that you know how to do with the information you have. And you're a smart woman. You clearly made a decision that you were at peace with. So I would say to you and anyone else that's listening, it's kind of like when you're diagnosed and then you tell somebody and they're like, oh yeah, well, da 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 da, and they start rambling off their experience, whether it's a friend of theirs or even their own experience. You know, you have to take it with a grain of salt and know that that's not your story. And scroll if you have the ability to, or stop that person mid-sentence and say, you know what, I hate to interrupt, but that's not helpful for me right now.
Right.
And that's it. And you move forward because you'll make yourself nuts.
Yeah, you will.
Well,
You'll drive yourself crazy. I mean, in any world, when you do the what if over and over again, you drive yourself crazy. And I know my daughter's going through that right now, she picked a college and now she's like not necessarily happy with it. So she's going to transfer to another college. She's like, what if I would have gone to this college instead? So she's in a situation where she's just, that's her world. That's her life. So I mean, you can't do that. You can't run yourself crazy like that.
Yeah.
You know what? Nothing is perfect. No
Right.
house is perfect. No car is perfect. No life is perfect. No person is perfect. You know what I mean?
Tell a 19-year-old that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that would be helpful, you know, to hear, because we think that we're like searching, the Holy Grail is this perfection thing that we're going to like arrive at one day. And there's no such thing.
Right.
There's no such thing.
Right. So tell me, so was Life Well Lived, your company, was this born out of your diagnosis and life experience?
It was. So I'd had a different business before. I had Integrated Nutrition Solutions was my nutrition practice that I had before I got diagnosed. And it was just starting to pick up. I focused on helping people with food allergies and sensitivities and all their gut health issues. And so that was going gangbusters for me. I was working part-time at the hospital, part-time I had my business. It was all working out. And then this thing got like thrown into the spokes of my wheels and I was like, what the hell, you know? And I closed down my private practice because I needed the insurance that I got from my job at work.
Right.
And so because the insurance was through me. And so I decided that I couldn't really listen to other people's problems and focus on other people because I needed to focus on myself. And so I closed my private practice and I stayed with the hospital job. And it was something that you said just a little bit ago too. While I was still working at the hospital, you know, during the chemo treatment and everything with, you know, everything that I had to go through, I worked half days on the ICU. And one time I saw my oncologist come in and visit someone else on the ICU, and it wasn't a good situation. It was obviously going very, very badly. And I pulled him aside after rounds and I said, this was a really hard day. It was really triggering for me. And he said exactly what you said. Her story is not your story. Mm-hmm. And I had to run with that. I had to like take it, package it, hold on to it really tight, you know, put it in my heart and go with it. And I've never forgotten it. You know, when I see things that don't go well for other women, I just have to remind myself their story is not your story.
Yeah. Chris, you're going to have to bank that because, you know, that even Chris has to calm me at times because so many, I mean, I would say 95% of my friends, my real friends, are breast cancer patients and survivors now. It's just the way my life has evolved. And so many of them have either passed or become metastatic. And here I am 10 years in and I was pretty advanced. And so there are days where I really fight, you know, with the whole survivor's guilt thing. And even if it's someone that becomes metastatic, but they're still living a long time, like my friend Catherine is like 17 years metastatic now, living life on fire. Wow. I mean, she's in forever treatment, but she's living life, you know, and I have to really, really manage that part of it, that their story is not my story.
Yeah.
So that tackles, in my mind, it helps manage and suppress the survivor's guilt, but also the fear that it invokes about recurrence for myself, right? So that's a great lesson. Thank you for sharing that. So Life Well Lived. So when did you start it?
Mm-hmm. So afterwards, and it's probably about a year after my treatment was done, I thought, what am I doing? I still want to do a private practice. I still want to be in private practice. I don't know, you know, I didn't know what I want, but I thought, you know, Integrated Nutrition Solutions just doesn't cover it anymore. It doesn't hit the nail on the head like it used to. It didn't speak to me. I thought, you know what, being healthy and being well and living a full life is so much more than what's on your plate. And that's where it was born from, in the sense that I believed that there was more to life. You know, yes, I was a dietitian and that was kind of my realm, but there's so much more to life than just what's on your plate. So I started thinking about the things that really helped me in my journey. And I don't know if I am married to calling it a journey, but just on my path of recovery. And I realized that like, it wasn't just the diet that I changed. I turned my whole world upside down. I became a vegan. I started exercising a lot more. You know, actually, I was 3 weeks away from running my first half marathon when I got diagnosed. So it's not that I didn't already believe in exercise, but I was one of those people that, like one of those normal people, that when I had time, right, I would exercise. Yeah. And when I didn't have time, exercise was the first thing out the window, right? Well, after all my treatments and everything, and my doctor having said to me, I think you and I talked about this, Carrie, too, was that the reason why things looked so good in the beginning was because I was in such good shape going into it, right? So I decided that, you know what, it's so important to me. It's not an option anymore for exercise to go out the window. I might have a couple of days, you know, like right now it's been single digits here in Denver where I live. Jesus. So it's been crazy cold. No, I didn't even stick my nose out the window if I didn't have to. You know what I mean? Right. I'd make my husband take the dog outside. Very nice person I am, but yeah.
normal person.
So yeah, I might have like a couple of days where I don't exercise, but there's never a stretch of weeks or months where I don't exercise. That is now a definite part of my life. And like that, there's so many other things. Clean beauty is part of my life. Just, you know, travel, you know, doing things like self-care is a part of my life. That was never really a steady thing in my life. It wasn't a regular thing in my life.
I don't think it's a steady thing for anybody under 30. And maybe even under 40, if I'm honest.
Well, don't you feel, Chris, like society has conditioned us all to believe that grinding hard, working long hours, like that's where it's at, right? Like that's the goal. And if you're doing that, and if you're so busy that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, don't you feel that?
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, and don't worry about cooking. Just go to the drive-thru real quick and grab that burger on your way home. Mm-hmm. You know, so yeah, I mean that is society in the way that it shows it. But I can tell you that I wasn't in a place when I was younger. Hell, for the last 5 years, I've actually been taking care of myself a lot more than I had in the past. So, but yeah, that's for you already being diagnosed with breast cancer, closing down your private practice. Did you have the option to not work in the ICU, or did they just say you have to go in here? I can't imagine that having that amount of stress on top of what you're already going through. How did that affect you?
Right. So here's the problem with not working on the ICU is you lose your skills. You lose your ability to do that. So part of my job was a 6-week rotation of being the only one there on a weekend. So we had 6 dietitians in the office, and we all rotated every 6 weeks to be the person on call on a weekend. And if you stay out of the ICU for 6 weeks, and then, you know, you're only there once every 6 weeks, you lose those skills. You know what I mean? You lose that knowledge. And I was already fighting ridiculous brain fog, you know? So I was like, I don't have the luxury, you know,
of having the breaks in between.
Not do it, right? To be out of practice, you know, because those weekends when I was there by myself, I would be like nuts.
Yeah.
Oof, that's crazy.
So tell us about the Wings of Hope program that you've created.
So you asked in the very beginning, you know, how long it took me to really own this thing that happened to me. It took me 8 years. It took me 8 years to really own my story. And that's where Wings of Hope was born out of, also was my story. You know, it took me so long to kind of figure things out that I thought maybe I can help someone else get it a little sooner, you know, and not have to struggle for 8 years. Part of the other thing, you know, you asked a lot about mental health. I had incredible fear that first year, like, you know, not during the treatment, because during the treatment, you're always having something done to you. Someone is on top of you. Your friends are constantly calling, you know, wanting to take you for a walk. Let's go do this, that, whatever. All of a sudden, you're done with treatment and it's silent. Everyone goes away. Everyone's gone. No one's checking in on you. You're a survivor. You're good now. And it was, I think, that moment where I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, nothing is being done. And I actually felt scared without the chemo. I mean, like, okay, first of all, I never wanted to do chemo in the first place. Right?
I get it.
Right. But then as soon as we were done with it, I was like, I don't know what to do now. You know, now there's nothing. And that was my security blanket. You know, I kind of felt like something was happening.
Yeah, because you're in treatment. So it's your job, right? So you're I won't say preoccupied. You are literally focused on that. That is all your job is. You're getting through treatment. If you're working part-time, because I worked through treatment also, but I worked from home. So, but I worked full-time while I was in treatment, but it's a job. So you feel like you're taking action towards your healing, towards your cure, so to speak. And then you're done. And like you said, everyone falls off. This, again, the top recurring theme of our show, right, Chris?
Yeah. It's like when you work out and then you stop. It's like you're thinking of it as working out. You work out, you get into decent shape, and then you stop working out, and you're supposed to just keep that shape. That's like chemo done. Now I'm just going to stay healthy.
Now you sit there. Sit there and it's like, I'm not doing anything. And what's going to happen? And where's everybody at? I always say the little baby bird in the nest syndrome, right? You feel like you're going through all this crazy chaos, but you've got chaos managers all around you, nurses, doctors, radiation techs, whatever. And then you're done and they send you home to heal and they'll see you to follow up. But now you're like, feel like you've been kicked out of this nest. Yeah. You don't have that buffer, and your friends and family, they don't get it. They love you to death, but they don't get it.
No.
That's when you really need them the most, and they're gone.
Right.
Yeah.
And even close to you, like my husband, I think I didn't want to burden him.
Yep.
With how I was feeling. And so, you know, the first 3 months after chemo, I was literally taking Ativan every single day. Mm-hmm. Come 7:00 p.m., I was done for. I mean, I was like a wet rag. You could just, squeeze it and like everything would come out, you know? And so I was literally having to medicate myself right before dinner so that I could get through dinner with my husband and my kids, because I couldn't eat because I was so stressed out.
It's trauma. It's trauma. And this is why our show has morphed into focusing so much on mental health, because people don't realize that we experience this emotional and psychological, let alone physical trauma. And it often doesn't kick in until well after active treatment has been completed, right? It's years later. I have one survivor that comes through the Care Project for Support who's 25 years out, and she's still very visibly traumatized because mental health is not addressed. I'm gonna get off my soapbox because we got to wrap, but it is not addressed. So we're going to keep talking about it because we need to normalize the conversation. We need to give patients permission and encouragement to share exactly how they're feeling in that moment. Instead of trying to make everybody else around us comfortable, we need to keep it real for our own mental health and for their own education, right? So Wings of Hope, run it down.
Hope, right? So Wings of Hope is a program that I have six sessions in the program. And each session sort of builds on the one before. And the very first one starts out with owning your relationship with yourself. And there's, questions to help you dig deep. It's really, talking about the things that we hide inside our bodies. They do come back to haunt us. Mm-hmm. You can't run and you can't hide from yourself, right? So you have to just deal with it head on. And so the program is meant to take a woman from wherever she is in survivorship, all the way through, hopefully kind of a more better understanding of herself and a healing throughout those 6 weeks.
That's awesome. So this is virtual, I assume.
It's virtual.
So it's available to anybody, anywhere that can log on to some platform like Zoom or something.
Right. Well, it's not an asynchronous course.
Okay.
It's an actual program. I lead it. At every session I'm there live. It's
Perfect.
Not like, it's not a course that you buy and, you can do 100 years from now, whenever you get around to it. No, we're there together.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
I love it. I love it. And I imagine that it, developing that coursework, right, has been healing for you.
Absolutely. My goodness. One of the things that I probably, struggle with, like so many women, is setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Right. So that is definitely one thing that I talk about in the course, is setting healthy boundaries, for yourself and for others, so that they know that they cannot say certain things around you. They cannot, they cannot bully you with certain things,
Yeah. Or guilt you
or guilt you. Right.
Yeah. That's a big one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love it. I am going to look more into it. Your website is reginatopelson.com, and we will link that in the show notes and share that in the promo. Thank you so much for sharing your story and what you do. I appreciate you and your transparency, because I feel like as survivors who have businesses that support others, we have to keep it real.
Yeah.
We do. I feel like it's our responsibility. If we choose to share our story, we got to be raw about it. We got to be real and give, some practical coping skills and solutions and suggestions, if you will, because, what works for one person doesn't work for the next, but at least this is another option for them to check out. So I appreciate you sharing, and I'm sure we'll talk again.
Thank you, Carrie. I've really enjoyed being here. I was so looking forward to today. So
I know we'll chat again.
Okay.
We'll chat
great.
again. Thank you,
Bye,
Regina.
Bye, Regina.
Carrie.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Handle with Care, Cancer and Beyond. Please let us know what you think of the show by leaving a rating and review. And don't forget to share it with a friend. For more information or to connect with Carrie, go to thecareprojectinc.org.
Can you have zero interest in something and still really want it? Your wallet would say yes. And with Simply Zero from South Carolina Federal Credit Union, you can transfer credit card balances and get 0% intro APR for 12 months. That's right, no interest all year. So you pay less and keep more. To learn more, visit scfederal.org/simplyzero. That's scfederal.org/simplyzero. Variable APR ranges from 11.74% to 17.99% thereafter. Limited time offer restrictions apply.